Welcome to Brain Health Matters, a show dedicated to helping you improve your health, master your mind, and boost your brain. I'm your host, Kate Kunkel, and in this week's show, we're learning from Ariel Jarvis, a natural health practitioner who's sharing the best ways to improve our sleep and our gut health to improve our brains. Stay tuned.
Brain Health Matters is brought to you by Don't Let the Memories Fade. Learn many enjoyable ways to enhance body, mind, and spirit with simple lifestyle changes that will help you improve your memory and your mind. You can create a healthier, more vibrant future with Don't Let the Memories Fade. Available in ebook and paperback on Amazon everywhere.
Ariel, thank you so much for joining me. I know you're a very busy young lady, so I'm excited that you've been able to take the time to talk with me.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me here. So wonderful to meet you in person.
This is wonderful. I mean, with all of the nonsense that happened in the world in the last couple of years, at least we were able to connect and make new friendships. Now, you're in British Columbia, and I understand that they had some pretty severe lockdowns there, and you just started your practice not too long before lockdowns happened. Did you use Zoom a lot when you were
I
dealing
stayed
with that?
open. I stayed open. I'm a little rebel. I had people that needed me. And so I was the only one in my facility that stayed open. And I was seeing about 12 to 14 people a day. I was working 70 hours a week. I almost went through burnout, but I needed to be the lighthouse and I needed to be the light for people. And I was changing lives. And so I think that it was, I had a layer of protection over me, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. Oh, I am so glad to hear that you're a bit of a rebel. Me too. Okay, so we're going to talk about not all the things, some of the things that you do that can help people improve their brains. And the reason I got to know about Ariel, everybody, is because I saw her on a show from a friend of mine, James Gardner, there, also in BC, and she was talking about sleep. And I know that so many people struggle, especially now, with sleep. So let's talk a little bit, Ariel, about why it's so important to have good sleep for our brains and everything else, and how you can help people achieve a better night's sleep.
Mhm. So there's something called sleep hygiene. And we get busy, life gets busy, you have kids, you have activities, you have to-do lists. And what happens is we don't prioritize sleep hygiene. So what people don't realize is you go through 4 different cycles, phase 1 and 2 of the non-rapid eye movement, and then phase 3 and 4 of rapid eye movement. And you go through this cycle, it's a 90-minute cycle, and you go through it about 4 or 5 times if you're having a well-balanced sleep. And then what happens is all of a sudden your body is able to go into that cellular restorative state. And so what happens is in Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, there is actually education and awareness around when your body goes into a state of unconsciousness, which is our REM sleep, where now your body can use that potential energy that's stored in your cells and actually detox and repair and flush out the old, bring in the new from the nutrition you ate that day and from all the toxins you inhaled to flush it out of the system. We go through different phase checkpoints. We clean out your kidneys, your digestive system, your brain, and etc. And so if you don't get a good quality sleep, or you have poor sleep hygiene, which we can talk about after, then what happens is you actually are missing out on this very important phase, the restorative phase, where now you wake up and you might have slept 8 to 9 hours, but you still feel groggy and exhausted, and you feel like you're dragging your feet and you have no energy, no vitality, right? And so what happens is it just cascades into the next day, into the next day, and the next day. And that actually affects your gut-brain axis because it affects your cortisol levels. And then this dominoes into affecting your microbiome, creating cravings of sugar and carbohydrates to balance out your blood sugar because cortisol dysregulates your blood sugar. And now all of a sudden we start to notice that our eating habits are being directly impacted.
One of the reasons, though, that you might have not such good sleep is because your gut is also not healthy. So it can go in both directions, right?
100%. It's a domino effect. What people don't realize is that there's 11 body systems. And when a body system is under duress or under stress, it creates a pattern. It creates inflammation and chaos within the cellular system. And then all the other cells don't know what to do and everything's thrown off. So in order for you to maintain a healthy ecosystem from head to toe, you need to follow the 4 pillars, making sure you're getting enough water, right? 1 liter for every 50 pounds you weigh, and it has to be structured water. So not straight from the tap. So the second pillar is sleep. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The third one is food is medicine, and herbs. Herbs and supplements fall underneath the food category, right? And so they are not classified as a pharmaceutical. So you can combine foods and you can actually optimize the bioenergetics of that food and the performance on your cellular system. And the fourth one is exercise and stress management. So if you are taking care of the 4 pillars every single day and being mindful of that, all of a sudden the ecosystem is in homeostasis, and you will notice that your sleep will improve.
So complicated. It's a real balancing act. Yikes. So you said, let's go back to that structured water thing, because I don't want to forget it. What do you mean by structured water?
Great question. So the whole world used to be considered a blue zone, okay? But through industrialization and pollution and the way we take living water, which has a negative charge, and we run it through the pipes, and then we flood it with chlorine to kill all the parasites and fungus and mold and all the other fun stuff that's in there, and then it comes through our tap. Chlorine is there to kill bacteria. You have more bacteria cells than human cells. And so what happens is it actually destroys the ecosystem of the gut. That's where most of your serotonin is produced, which is the precursor for melatonin. If you have an imbalanced gut, you don't make melatonin well. You won't sleep.
Yeah, this whole thing about cleaning and getting rid of all the bugs, but we need certain bugs. And I keep saying that to people, you got to stop with the hand sanitizers and all this stuff, because you're destroying all of your microbiomes, not just the gut. Actually, let's talk a little bit about that, the different microbiomes. I've talked a lot about it on the gut here on Brain Health Matters, but maybe just fill in folks a little bit on the other places to consider the healthy bacteria that we need.
There is over 11 microbiomes, and they're all different. Because you have 11 body systems, think of your body as like the world. You have different countries and cities and places, right? And they all have different ecosystems, temperatures, pHs, enzymes. There's so much going on a cellular level when you take care of your body. And so you'll actually have a whole whack of amazing live bacteria on your skin to protect you. You have bacteria on your eyes, your eyelids, your lashes, your eyebrows, your hair, right? So there's like a range of hygiene. If we don't have proper hygiene, then we can have too many bad pathogens, and there's a battle, and usually your body will show symptoms that it's under stress, okay? The other thing, though, is people now have taken that and they've created the opposite end of the spectrum, where now they're over sanitizing, they're bleaching, and there's so many airborne chemicals, and there's so many this, so many that, and they're doing the hand sanitizer and they're Listerine, and it just goes on and on and on. And that also sterilizes your ecosystem internally and externally. And now what happens is when you destroy the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, you're destroying both, but what happens is you don't kill it 100%. You kill it 99.9%. So that 0.01% is an actual type of bacteria where it builds up a resistance gene against the chemical that you're trying to kill it with. And they divide every 20 minutes. They pass through a process called conjugation, where they just have to touch another bacteria of the same with this ability. And now you have something called a superbug that is destroying you.
Oh, so that's how the superbugs in hospitals came about, because they don't kill all the germs. You've got to, oh my goodness, that's why.
You're leaving the superbug behind, and then you have all these dead carcasses where now he can just gobble up and keep reproducing.
What a perfect description of that. It's very, very helpful. Thank you. So let's go back now to the sleep. we've got an issue with the microbiome, but you were talking about sleep hygiene. So we could have an issue with our sleep, but what do we do to fix that?
Mhm. Number one, let's pretend that you have been suffering for a very long time. We need to restore your serotonin and your tryptophan. Okay. So we can totally go down a rabbit hole, but to keep things simple, we need to make sure that we are eating foods that are high in serotonin and tryptophan. Your cashews, your nuts, your seeds, your oats, your turkey, right? Things like that. We also need to be mindful of if you're on medications like antipsychotics, anti-anxieties, antidepressants, anything anti, and it's a pharmaceutical, is going to destroy your gut microbiome, or it's going to target your serotonin. It's going to affect your sleep over time. Taking melatonin, do not take melatonin. Your brain makes its own melatonin. If you take melatonin, your body gets lazy, it stops making it, you become dependent, your dosage has to go up, and this is a vicious cycle, okay? The other one is making sure that we know not in front of a blue screen, right? Because why? Because what that actually does is your brain, when it's in the pitch black, in the dark, it starts to secrete melatonin. But if you stimulate it with a blue light or a TV or a screen, or you don't have a dark room, then your body won't be able to make melatonin as effectively or efficiently. You could just be a sensitive person to light, and just by having one of those eye covers, it's a game changer. Also making sure that you're not eating too close before bed. I have a 2-hour rule, no food before bed. And if you're extra sensitive, no carbs or fruit before bed. Carbs and sugar spike your insulin. They store the body. They put glucose into the body, which is energy. That gets stored as glycogen. That will keep you up. So if you're the type of person you like to have a dessert after dinner, do it after lunch or breakfast. Don't do it after dinner. Don't eat too late, and be mindful about getting to bed before 11 p.m. Because 11 p.m., your hormonal system actually releases a hormone called the ghrelin hormone, which makes you feel hungry for sugar and carbs. The last thing is to take a look at your microbiome. If you have a lot of parasites, fungus, mold, these are nocturnal, and so they get activated at night. And that's why all of a sudden we have some people, I have a lot of patients where they'll come in and they snack at nighttime or in the middle of the night. They don't eat all day. And then all of a sudden they go to bed and then they wake up in the like 2 or 3 in the morning and they go straight for the fridge and they go straight for the cookies. And they're eating, all these sweets and carbs at like 3 or 4 in the morning. That's a sign you have parasites. So we need to work on your microbiome.
Wow, I've never heard that before. That is really interesting. Let's go back to the light a little bit. I'm very light sensitive. I have to have a black room. Does that have a signal that there's something else going on, or is it just because I'm light sensitive? Because I really cannot handle any light in the room.
It's usually because your cells, we have 5 senses, right? And so our central nervous system, you have your automatic nervous system and your non-automatic. So you have your parasympathetic and your sympathetic. So what happens is some people are just, their central nervous system is just more sensitive. So you might just be more of a sensitive person. That's totally okay. But you have found your proper sleep hygiene, which you need to have the dark. I need to have the dark too. I need to have one of those iPads, like those coverings, everything needs to be dark. And then all of a sudden I can fall into a deep sleep, right? Some people need a noise, right? So it just depends on, that white noise. It just depends on your senses. It depends on your day. It depends on your adrenaline, how much coffee you had, your cortisol, right? How much go. Do you allow yourself to rest and be present? Or do you just go as soon as you get up and go until you crash? Your body needs time to unwind and decompress. And taking something like CBD or THC, maybe it's not always the best choice because that's still a Band-Aid. It might be a natural Band-Aid, but it's still a Band-Aid because your body should be able to do it on its own.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's so many bandages out there that people are using. But I want to go back to water because I noticed on the website it said about alkaline water. And I recommend that to my vibroacoustic therapy. When we do sound therapy, I always have them drink alkaline water after a session. Maybe you could explain to people the value of alkaline water.
So when we speak alkaline water from a bioenergetics point of view, we have to be very careful with our language, because a technical alkaline water is when you take water and you add minerals that actually raise the pH, and that becomes an inorganic structure. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about structured water that raises your alkalinity because it donates electrons, hydrogen. It's actually has a negative voltage, which means that it's going to activate your mitochondria, and it's going to actually support any cell in your body that is oxidized or has free radical damage, because it donates the electrons. So I like to use the word electrically reduced water, or I like to use the verbiage structured water, just because alkaline water, some people, if you're not educated, you can just go buy alkaline water from a grocery store. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about live water that actually has the molecular structure stripped, where the positive is on one side, the negative is on the other side. Positive goes in the sink, negative goes in your body, and it actually binds to the stress in your body. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, but if you just put baking soda or lemon juice in your water, that's called an inorganic compound. Change the structure of it. So it's not something I recommend, but totally up to you.
Now let's go to the microbiome again and sleep and the brain, because you mentioned about the brain or getting the toxins from the day or the week or whatever cleaned out. Does that include food that is toxic? Like you said about things in the air, but does that also include foodstuffs that could affect your brain through the microbiome?
So we have something called a blood-brain barrier. And when you're sleeping, your body can take that energy, because it requires a lot of energy to get your body moving, to get you digesting and all that. So all of a sudden, if you're just laying there unconscious and you don't have to perform those mechanisms or those functions, the body can use all that energy. And through the different phase checkpoints, at the 7th hour is when your brain actually goes through a cleansing period where it detoxes all the plaque buildup that happened from your gut, because your gut is connected through the vagus nerve to the brain. So the microbiome in your gut, if you have an imbalance, so if you have too much bad bacteria in your gut, they poop, they pee, they throw off the pH, those particles go up the vagus nerve and lodge into the brain, creating plaque buildup. So what happens is when you get into the 7th hour of your sleep, your brain actually cleanses that using the stored water, because your brain is 70% water. And so it will actually flush that out of the membrane, and then your lymphatic system will pick it up. And then the next day, that's why you want to start your day with a lot of water, get yourself moving, because your lymphatic system doesn't have a heartbeat. You have to get your body moving. And then otherwise you can have those crazy toxins that you just flushed out from your sleep. You can have them lodge in different areas of the body and create a blockage. So we've got to get it all cleansed out. So that's why starting your morning with a big glass of water to flush, that's what we're talking about, because there's ammonia in there, making sure you have a bowel movement every single day, because otherwise you're going to have all that stuff just sitting in the body, and then it will actually settle in different areas of your lymphatic system.
Wow, that can cause real havoc for sure. You also, in the notes that you sent to me, thank you very much. Let's talk about the herbs that are good for the brain, because I'm assuming that herbs are also going to be helping in this process.
So when it comes to herbs, think of those as like, an advantage, right? So you don't want to do that and not do the diet. You want to do the diet, the water, the 4 pillars we talked about. And then if you're like, I want to take my health to the next level and I want to get my brain function optimal, right? I want to feel that mental clarity and being able to multitask and remember things and have all the parts of your brain functioning properly, but optimally, right? Peak performance. So some of my favorite herbs, would be any sort of nootropic, right? That is like fertilizer for your brain. Adaptogens, right? Your brain requires magnesium and trace minerals to send those, they're conductors to send those signals to cell communication. Your essential fatty acids. So making sure you're getting your DHEA, you're getting your hemp oil, your MCT, right? Your healthy fats. You need the healthy fats, you need the trace minerals, making sure that you're doing the lion's mane, right?
Oh, lion's mane, really?
It helps with neurogenesis. So every 25 days, your brain makes a new generation of cells called stem cells, which have no identity. So they will actually become the cell that they are neighbor to. And so that's how the brain will heal itself. So you can actually have a piece of your brain removed and it will grow back based on what you feed it nutritionally, which will rebuild the foundation. And so if you have cellular dysfunction in the brain, making sure that you're taking some of these brain activating herbs is a game changer. You will see that performance, especially with dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, the list goes on. So your neurotransmitters in your brain, they need to be fed. They need to be nourished. They need to be watered. It's just like a garden, right? And so if you're noticing that you have certain diagnosis or you have certain things, remember your cells have a 25-day turnover. Everything you eat and drink becomes the next generation of cells. You can progressively get better or progressively get worse, but your body has the receptors to analyze bioenergetics from your food and herbs, not from synthetics. Pharmaceuticals is a forced reaction. Nature is a natural reaction. Your body naturally wants to absorb it and utilize it and allow it to restore the cells and the brain function. So working on lion's mane, working on, your gut health, working on your water, all of that, and then taking your nootropics, taking your magnesium and your trace minerals and all of that.
Perfect. Wow, you are just a wealth of information. I could talk to you for like days. And we will definitely come back and talk about water. Quickly though, hydration. You said how much per pound or per kilogram?
1 liter per 50 pounds you weigh. That's your formula. That's just to maintain. That doesn't include exercise. If you're exercising, you also need to hydrate, or if you're doing a hot sauna or hot yoga, hydrate, or if you live in a beautiful climate, you need to hydrate. But just for maintenance for your body, 1 liter for every 50 pounds you weigh.
Okay. So, and then if you exercise or whatever, a little bit more. Ariel, this has been amazing. I promise to keep it under half an hour for you because I know you're very busy. We will talk about water again. The one thing that if you could say to a client, I know there's so much when you do what you do, but if there's one thing that you would say to someone to help them with their brain health, what would it be?
Drink water. Drink the right water and drink water. Your brain is 70% water. Your body is 70 to 80% water. Most people, they don't drink water clear water. Don't put your powders or your coffee or your tea. Just start there because that is the first pillar of your health and your brain function.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ariel, how can people reach you if they, now, do you do any kind of consultations online or is everything there in BC?
Yeah, so we are a functional clinic. We do Eastern medicine and we are located in Langley, BC. We can do Zoom or Skype. So we can start with a consult over the phone, we get a free 15-minute consult. Otherwise, if you are in the area, you can also book with us in the area. Our clinic is called Vitality Wellness World. We have Instagram and Facebook, and our receptionist is 604-217-2588. We will put that in the notes as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Ariel. What a wealth. And I really appreciate your time. And folks, Ariel's getting married in 4 months. So send her congratulations.
Thank you. Very excited.
Okay, my dear. Thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Brain Health Matters. Be sure to subscribe with your favorite podcast service so that you can get all the latest episodes when they're released.